old friend that you could just downright depend on. You may have went through some real tough times, but damn it, you went through those tough times together. Welcome back, friends, to Build a Lot Acres. So I've been on YouTube for about 5 years now, and I have, give or take, 80 different videos on garden tractors, and I've read hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of comments in those 80 videos. And one common comment that I keep seeing over and over again involves people telling me how they get nostalgic about garden tractors. So I thought it'd be a great topic to cover. So I think it's also worth noting I've gotten similar comments on a lot of my firewood videos, because I would say two of my most popular and common topics I do for videos involve either firewood or garden tractors, and I've gotten similar comments on both. And I think people get nostalgic about these things for similar reasons. But today's video is going to be all about garden tractors. So I think the first thing we should do is talk about what is the meaning of nostalgia. And that is simply going to be the sentimental longing of wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. So I think a lot of people get nostalgic over maybe their childhood home, their childhood property, their hometown, maybe people that they associated with when they were younger, maybe relatives, maybe grandparents, parents, things like that. Because a lot of people lose these people. And if we stop there with people, I think that's where garden tractors can fit best into this picture. Because some of the people that you love the most that may no longer be with us, your core memories of that person may involve garden tractors. Because I think for a lot of us, some of our early childhood memories involve relatives being on garden tractors, mowing the lawn, plowing snow, maybe tilling the garden in the spring. Usually that would have been maybe, grandfather, your father, your mother, maybe an aunt or an uncle. Someone related to you that you cared about was using the machine to do a useful chore around the property, and you associate garden tractors with those happy times. I know I do. And because garden tractors are so dang useful year-round for doing all kinds of chores around your property, there's a good chance that you would have seen them a lot as a child. So I know for me personally, I can remember laying on the couch watching episodes of The Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno, and my mother would be outside mowing the grass, and I'd smell that fresh cut grass coming in through the open windows in the summertime. And it just brings me back to a happy place. It brings me back to being a kid when life was easy and things just made sense. I can also remember my mother ran a daycare, and two of the kids that she had in her daycare were probably, I'm going to say, 8 to 10 years younger than me. There was two brothers. They only lived about half a mile down the street, and we went over there for a cookout one time. And their father had a Simplicity Sunstar. I don't remember exactly why, but me, my father, my brother, and their father, we all ended up going into the garage, and he showed us this tractor. I remember thinking at that time, I was probably maybe 12, 13, 14 years old, somewhere around there. I remember thinking, wow, this tractor is a beast. I just remember looking at it and seeing how big it was, and the hood with the star. And it was just a real sight to behold. Those kind of memories stick with you well into adulthood. I can also remember my father plowing the driveway, and our next door neighbor who lived across the street would come over sometimes, and he had a wheel horse. I want to say it was either a C series or a 300 series. I don't remember the exact model, but this thing was all set up for snow. It had a nice snow blade, it had tire chains, it had wheel weights, and this thing was a real rugged little tractor. And I remember thinking as a kid, this thing looks like a little tank, it's tough. And I have a lot of core memories going back to my childhood where garden tractors were in the picture in some way. And I'm willing to guess a lot of the people watching also have garden tractors in their childhood memories in some way. Like I said, maybe you had a grandparent that mowed their grass and you remember the model and the brand of their tractor, or maybe your father had one and he did snow. I mean, there's a lot of different, garden tractor chores that could have been done while you were a kid. And you just associate that tractor and that time with you being a kid and, like I said, a happy place. I think it could be different things. It could be a four-wheeler, it could be a snowmobile. It could be a lot of different things that evoke those emotions within you. I think another reason is it's a natural progression. A lot of us, especially boys, You grow up with toys, you have cars, trucks, maybe little toy backhoes or loaders or bulldozers. You have these little toys that they're really fun. You use your imagination, pretend they're working on a job site or something like that. I know my son, who's 2 now, is really into trains. He loves Thomas and Friends, and I can't tell you how excited he gets when he plays with those trains. So to go from that, from the toy, to seeing your first real tractor, which for many of us was a garden tractor, it just seems like a magical thing. You go from a toy to this real live 800-pound steel monster with rubber tires that are almost as tall as you are, and it's pretty impressive for a young man or a young woman to see this, and it evokes memories that stick with you forever. So in addition to me talking about the definition of nostalgia earlier, I think you could also argue that I think these heavy-duty, rugged garden tractors remind us of a time gone by where things were made to last and stand the test of time. These old garden tractors from the 60s, 70s, 80s, they were built to last, and they were meant to be passed down generation to generation. They were made with real thick steel, quality components, and they were advertised as such by the people who made them. Nowadays, everything is in a throwaway society, and it seems like nothing lasts. You really can't count on anything to last for a long time and do by you right like the garden tractors did, because a lot of people had these garden tractors for 20 years, 30 years, et cetera, and they really meant a lot to the people who owned them. The chores they did with them were critical, crucial things. Maybe you needed to plow your driveway to get groceries, or maybe you needed to get to the hospital because you were having a child, or there's all the different reasons that you needed garden tractors to do things around your house, and without them, things wouldn't have gotten done. So in a way, a garden tractor was like an old friend to you. Someone that you could count on and rely on day in, day out. An old friend that you could just downright depend on. You may have went through some real tough times, but damn it, you went through those tough times together. I know for me personally, I don't use my garden tractors maybe as much as I used to, but I'm also not planning on getting rid of any of them. I just can't bring myself to sell some of these machines. It's just, like I said, it evokes something in me. It brings me back to those times as a child when things were just simpler and they made sense. And those garden tractors are always going to be that thing for me. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know your memories with garden tractors. Was it your grandfather, your father, your uncle? Who was it that first introduced you to garden tractors? And what kind of memories did those invoke? See you next time.